Hello and welcome to Yesterday's Coffee, the podcast where we chat about fitness, nutrition, and business all over coffee that may or may not have been brewed yesterday. Today we're covering how to work out at home.
It's been a trending topic for the past few months, and there's a ton of resources out there, but I also know a lot of people who haven't taken the steps to do it, despite all of the things, all the tools that we have right now. So we wanted to go through it.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a different experience. There's no doubt that working out at home when you don't have access to a bunch of equipment is probably less exciting than going to a gym or any sort of facility that has a lot more variety with what you can do. But it does not mean in any sense of the matter that you can't see progress, whether that's weight loss, increasing your strength to some degree, or anything else. So we want to run through some of the best practices that you can make sure you're doing to see results and not just let any sort of quarantine time or workout at home just kind of fall by the wayside and wait till your gym reopens.
Definitely. And I would say the number one thing, and this is something that I have always struggled with home workouts, is getting too distracted trying to get something done.
Yeah.
So I think the most important factor is having a designated area that you're going to be working out in. And if it's possible, because I know that it's not possible for everybody, but if it's possible for it to be kind of an area that's separate from any of your lounging areas. Yes, you might be watching a workout video on your TV in your living room where you normally chill on the couch. You might want to try and do something in a different room.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, that couch is going to start calling your name. You're going to want to sit down, take a break, get a snack, and then you're watching Netflix when you were supposed to be doing your workout.
Yeah, 2 hard sets in, you're like, yeah, you know what? I think I'd rather just watch something.
Yeah.
And obviously not everyone has that luxury. If you don't, then that might just have to be something that you deal with. Another thing you can do is go outside, work out outside, and just try to give yourself a place that this is where your workout is performed.
Every time.
Yeah, every single time, so that you can just help get in that mindset. It's not the same as going to the gym, sure, but especially if you do have a different room in the house, or you can throw some weights in the basement or whatever else, and just treat that as its own workout space, that's going to go a long way. It might not sound like much, but it really can have a pretty major impact on just your habits and being consistent with it.
You need to mentally separate it. So again, even if that's a luxury you don't have, you are not able to have, a place or a space away from some of the other main areas of your house, even a corner of that same room might be more helpful. But the same corner every single time, and setting up that area, having all your equipment right there and ready to go, maybe using your laptop instead of the TV. If that changes anything mentally for you, some of those little details can have a big impact.
Even just facing a different direction in that room.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Facing the back wall
so maybe
instead of
face
looking
your
at
wall,
the TV.
set up your laptop there. Again, if that's not going to motivate you to get it done, I understand. Maybe it's better to have it in front of a bigger screen. So this is great if you can do it, but if not, figure out what is going to motivate you the most.
Yeah. So that's about all there is to that.
Yeah.
Now, beyond the proper space, because obviously that's going to vary wildly, the one thing that everybody controls is having a regularly scheduled time to work out. And so this goes right in line with what we would be doing if we were going to the gym, and just treating it like a very important appointment that you can't miss. And especially if you are working out at home, now you have no excuse to miss it because there's no travel involved. It's just, here it is. This is the time. And especially if you do have equipment to work with at home, then you have absolutely no excuse. You don't have any transit. You're just right there. You've got to obviously flip that mental switch of working out, but here you are.
Well, but that's, I think, the biggest barrier is the mental switch. So
Of course,
again,
it really is.
It can't be something where you tell yourself, okay, I have, these equipments, I have my space ready to go. I'm going to try and get a workout in 3 days a week. You need to decide what those days are and what the time is. It needs to be set like an appointment, which can be tricky, and I know people like to leave their schedule flexible, and having home workouts kind of makes people feel like they can be more flexible. Like, oh, I can work out whenever.
Oh yeah, I'll just get
I
it
have
in
all this
whenever.
stuff. Yeah, all this stuff's at home.
Yeah.
You have to set those mental boundaries. You have to make that decision ahead of time in order to stick to it and honor it.
Yep.
So set the appointment with yourself. Have it be a pretty regular time every single week. Because again, the more you enforce that time, the easier it is going to be to build that habit and get it done.
Yep. And put your phone away when you're working out.
Oh, yeah. I am bad at that.
Turn on your, turn on your music, turn on your playlist, but then throw it in the corner.
Don't pick it up between
don't look
sets.
At it.
Don't pick it up when you're resting.
And I've been guilty of that myself. And
I'm bad at that.
It's not good. You're not gonna get a great workout in with your phone there, whether that's texts, social media, emails. You just have to put it away, just like you're in the gym. Pretend it's locked up in the locker, and get your workout in. And
yeah, you have to limit those distractions.
Yeah.
Any distractions.
Yeah.
And the phone is a big one because you pick it up between sets and all of a sudden it's 10 minutes later and then you're like, whoa, I only had 20 minutes for my workout and now it's gone.
Yep.
So especially for people who are time bound, don't touch your phone.
Or you're getting your rest period in and then it's 10 minutes later.
Well, yeah, obviously at that point you're not getting a good workout.
Right.
But number two, it starts to snowball into, well, I didn't have that much time and now I'm like not zoned in and now, you know, it doesn't matter, so I'll quit.
So back to creating this environment that's going to help you with working out at home. One of the things that I would recommend is creating a habitual warm-up. And so this could be something that you just do before every single workout to help get you in that mental space. You could do a lap up and down your street, around the house. You could come up with really anything you want, whether that was like a short little circuit that you do, but just something that kind of tells your body, all right, it's workout time. And if you've got like a sidewalk on your street that you can go up and down and get a nice little sweat going before you start your workout routine, that can be a great way to just kind of get you in that mode.
Well, and back to the mental cues too. I think it's awesome to have a solid physical warm up. You need that no matter what, where you're training, because again, it does signal to your body like, hey, we're getting ready for a workout. You need to be mentally prepared for this. But then, I think another part of that pre-workout time, whatever those habits are, can mentally set you up a little bit better. Maybe that's going through the motions of, putting your tennis shoes on, getting your water bottle filled up. Some of these little habits. I know Kyle gets his amino drink. Is that what you're
BCAAs,
drinking? Yeah, your BCAAs. Kyle fills up his big jug of BCAAs before his workouts. And that's kind of like a mental signal that like, hey, we're getting ready to start this training period.
Right.
So, I would, even if you're at home, maybe you're used to grabbing like a cup of water, maybe have a designated bottle, maybe go through the ritual of that like pre-workout time before your warm-up.
Wear your gym clothes.
Wear your gym clothes. Don't try to wear pajamas. Don't try and work out in your socks or barefoot. Put your shoes on.
Wear your actual gym clothes.
Put your gym clothes on. It helps with the whole mental ritual of doing it. Because again, if it's not official, it's going to be really hard to be consistent.
Yeah, you got to be fully in it, with the only difference being your location.
Yes.
Everything else has to be treated like you're in the gym like you normally are.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we have all of our space set up, we've got our ritual set up, our pre-workout, our warm-up time. What tools do we have available to actually get workouts at home? So
obviously you can get a great workout in with just your body weight, just like a combination of calisthenics and some cardio. But that does leave a lot to be desired as far as variety goes. And depending on your current skill level or strength level, a lot of those body weight exercises that might be really good might be just a little bit too challenging for you to do in any sort of volume. And so one of the best pieces of equipment that you can pick up is a set of variable exercise bands. These are still readily available. I am constantly recommending them through Amazon or Walmart or whatever else, where you just have typically a good set will have like 5 different levels of resistance and allow you to just work up like you would with additional weights. Obviously, band resistance is going to feel significantly different than if you're lifting actual weight. But the overall effect is fairly similar. and you can get a really good workout and have progression built into what you're doing with resistance bands that just about anyone can come by. Whereas with like, if you have access to weights or any other equipment, that's amazing. Obviously, the more the better, but especially in the current climate, it's nearly impossible to get your hands on them, which is why the exercise bands is always my go-to. And even if you do have weights, they can be a nice little addition to what you're doing there too.
Absolutely. I think right now equipment is a huge barrier to entry for a lot of people with home workouts because the first week of quarantine, everyone bought the most readily available equipment. Yeah. But bands, I think they were out of stock for a little while. They are back.
Yeah, bands are back.
Bands are back.
Those are quick and easy to make.
A little bit more expensive, but at this point, that's what's available.
Yeah,
and
I mean, you're looking at $40 instead of $30.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's not a huge
crazy
difference. They're not going to go down anytime soon because, there are too many unknowns in this situation. Just do it. Just pick them up because no matter what level you are, they're going to be useful for you. Like Kyle said, I mean, the lightest band is what, like 10 pounds resistance?
Typically, something like that. And yeah.
So again, all the way from beginner, and then you can stack every single band on the same pair of handles to get you above 100 pounds of, band resistance.
Right. And you can very easily incorporate that into what you're doing with anything else. Like we have dumbbells that go up to 90s, barbells, all kinds of stuff that we can use. And I still have regular exercises that I incorporate the bands with just because it's a little bit more variety.
All the time.
Allows you to hit things a little bit differently. In addition to like accommodating resistance and that type of stuff. Well,
and especially for people who maybe do have weights at home and who are a little bit more advanced, but are feeling like they're kind of capping out with the weight that they have available. Like if you feel like you can't progress past the dumbbells or hand weights that you have, bands are another way to change up similar exercises to, kind of push past that plateau.
Yep.
And work the muscle in a slightly different way, or again, being able to stack those bands and create a heavier resistance overall.
Right. Yeah. You can add the bands to the exercise, and so like if you've got like a bench set up and you're using dumbbells for dumbbell bench, you can continue holding onto the dumbbells and then wrap the band around the bottom of the bench and add that additional amount of resistance, especially to the top. Of that press, which will really, in that instance, really help activate your chest and everything else. And that can be used in any number of different situations for any number of different exercises. So just adding that to maybe a lighter set of dumbbells that you already have. Because I know a lot of people have like sets of 20s. Like they have just a pair of 20-pound
really
dumbbells.
Well-rounded, weight.
Which obviously can only take you so far, but then you start adding additional resistance from bands to that can go and give you a lot more stimulus than you would have had before. And
Absolutely.
There are a lot of other things that we can do in addition to that. So obviously, the more equipment that we've got, the better. But depending on what equipment that we have, the way that we execute the reps really becomes important for making things more challenging. So one of the first things that I go to with a home workout where we don't have load to increase is shortening rest periods, because you can obviously do more and more reps, and then if you're taking 2 minutes rest, it's not going to feel like you're doing all that much. But if you're going and pumping out 20 reps and then you're giving yourself 15 seconds rest and then trying to do it again and again and again, eventually that's going to accumulate and be more challenging over time. So if you are somebody that's regularly doing 60-second rest, 2-minute rest in the gym because you've got 300-400 pounds on your back with a squat,
sure,
that's fine. But now that isn't available, we need to shorten something to create this environment that's going to give you a similar stimulus.
Yeah, because remember that stress and that stimulus compounded over time is what triggers progress, no matter what your goal looks like. So yeah, absolutely. Shortening rest periods is a great way to adjust the level of intensity in your workout. And another one would be tempo. So, tempo, time under tension, the way that you execute the exercise itself.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you can think of tempo as like with a squat. Obviously, if you're just going up and down at a pretty normal tempo, a bodyweight squat is very easy. But if you try to do it with a 20-second eccentric, where you're just sinking down over the course of 20 seconds to get to the bottom, obviously doing 10 reps like that is going to be significantly harder. And then if you can add weight to that, all the better. And it doesn't even have to stop at the negative. You can also do slow concentrics, which is not something a lot of people play with, but I assure you they suck. And
they don't feel good.
especially with legs. If you're trying a squat where you're doing not only 20 seconds down, but 20 seconds up, and just one rep of that, and you're going to be feeling that.
Yeah, you're shaking by the end of it.
So, and that is actually a style of training, a very super slow style of training. I can't remember what the term is for it, but it does exist, and people actually do it like within a gym. So doing that when you've only got a 20-pound dumbbell to hold on to for a goblet squat. Or just your own
body weight, even depending on your level. I mean, changing up your body weight training and working with tempo, it will feel completely different.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you can compare it, for somebody who might be, more of a beginner, comparing it, a body weight squat to a wall sit, even though I know those are two different exercises, but people understand that wall sits suck, right? So, pausing within an exercise or slowing down how quickly you're descending or ascending is going to change it completely.
Yeah, you could throw those isometrics in where you're paused at a particular point. So you could do that with a squat where you pause at the bottom. You could also pause midway up. You can do it with like a push-up, pausing at the bottom. A bunch of great examples there.
You can pause midway up, go back down into your squat, then come all the way back up. There's a lot of different ways that you can play with squeezing that muscle and how long that muscle is working.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and then you pair all that up with like supersetting exercises. And so now you've got a really compounded stimulus here. So because one of the things that you can use in the gym is something like a compound drop set, or a mechanical drop set. That's what I'm thinking of, where you're taking a movement and you start at the most difficult variation of it, and then after you've exhausted your ability to perform reps like that, you go to the next easiest variation. So an example of that would be like push-ups, starting from your feet, doing as many reps as you can, and then drop into your knees. That's a mechanical drop set. And so if you take multiple exercises like that, if you're somebody that's really strong and you're trying to get stronger through this time, or at least maintain your strength, then pairing up exercises like that are going to take on similar muscle groups together so that stimulus is compounded over time, and then you start mixing in shortened rest periods with longer tempos, you're going to be hurting, and you don't even need any weight to do it.
No, absolutely. Well, and that goes for people of any skill level. Of maybe it's not even a drop set at that point. Maybe we're doing, an intentional superset of two different exercises with no rest in between, but they're focused on the same body part, or they're focused on the same muscle group. Yeah. So if you're at home and you're doing body weighted exercises, maybe doing body weighted squats and body weighted lunges back to back, that's going to give you more stimulus in your leg muscles than doing maybe your regular circuit where you're kind of going through a couple different, lower upper kind of situation.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because if you're just thinking of one exercise at a time, and we'll go back to that 20-pound dumbbell example, and you're trying to really tax your quads, if you're thinking of just doing goblet squats with that, it might take you 50 reps, and you could do that. And it might get a little monotonous. Or
is that the best use of your time,
right?
Though,
Or you could pair up a few exercises first. So like lunges or Bulgarian split squats, where you take each leg to maybe 20, get a really good pump there, and then immediately go into the goblet squat, doing like a 5 or 10 second eccentric for a set of 10, and then finish it with a wall sit for 30 seconds. Like that's going to light your quads on fire.
When you stack the same exercises within the same body part or same, muscle group, you're going to get much more activation or stress on those muscles there.
Right. And the other element of this that is different than what I'd typically prescribe for most people is not being afraid to go to failure more often. Because especially with a low load exercise or body weight work or even band stuff, to really get to that point where you're stressing your body enough to make that adaptation, you need to get closer and closer to failure. Because with training with weights in the gym, we can obviously just increase load and keep things closer to, I mean, you don't have to be coming all the way up to failure or maxing out every single set. We can have a little bit more in the tank because we're able to get a lot more mechanical tension in the muscle fibers. But when we are using lighter weights than we normally would, and we're forcing ourselves to go into more of a muscular endurance zone, that's where, especially if strength or muscle growth is your goal, then we need to play into the metabolic environment and getting those metabolites, lactic acid buildup, and everything else accumulating in the muscle to signal growth. And that's going to require you to take things a lot closer to failure, or even taking sets completely to failure multiple times in the workout with something like push-ups or bodyweight squats to get what you're looking for out of the workout.
Absolutely. And you know, it's much lower risk, right? Because you're using lower weights or potentially even body weight, you know, going to failure in that situation isn't going to hurt you.
Right.
But I think that it is important to measure your recovery. So after going to failure on a few sets or a few exercises in a workout, kind of judging how you feel at the end of that workout and making sure you're recovering well to go into the next one.
Yeah, same rules apply as always.
As everything else.
But just don't be afraid of like taking it completely to failure multiple times within that workout just to get through and burn out whatever muscle tissue you're trying to train.
Well, and with all that being said, with all these different methods of increasing intensity in a workout and, you know, getting more stimulus, I think the one big important thing we didn't mention was that you probably want to go into all of your home workouts with a plan.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You need to have a plan. Well, I feel like I need to say that because not everybody has a training program or a video that they're going to watch. So if your plan is to just have your time set aside and then make it up as you go, that's a bad plan. Right. I just want to tell you, that's not a good plan for home workouts. It doesn't work unless you're a really like seasoned lifter, and at that point you would already have a plan. So there's really no situation where you want to like go into these workouts and just kind of make it up as you go if you have progressive goals. If your goal is just to maintain, and again, you have enough knowledge and experience to put exercises together, that's great. You do you. If this is just for maintenance, that's fine. But if you do have progressive goals, you need to have a progressive plan, and it needs to be mapped out before you start your workouts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything that we talked about is great, but it takes planning.
Yes.
Yeah, like
you can't just be in the middle and be like, oh, I guess I'll do this as a negative, and I'll do this as like, you know, a slow rep, and I'll pause here. It needs to be all mapped out ahead of time.
Right. I mean, I can pretty well come up with things on the spot as I need to because I do this professionally, and I have for years and years and years. But especially if you're like not somebody that regularly creates workouts or knows how to stack these exercises up together, then you're going to want to plan it out ahead of time, because otherwise you will just run into that kind of boring, monotonous workout of just more and more reps of the same thing, which still works fine.
Or you're putting exercises together or doing workouts that aren't super efficient and aren't going to really be moving you closer to your ultimate goal.
Right.
And we don't want you to be wasting your time. Like, this is already kind of a nuisance in general for a lot of people. So don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Go into it with a plan.
And all that being said, I still go into my workouts with a plan of like, what am I going to do? How are we going to pair these up? What are my tempos, so that I don't have to think about it, come up with it on the spot, because that's not fun either.
No.
So yeah, go in with a plan. Play with all these different things, shorten your rest periods, adjust your tempos, pair different exercises up, and try new things that you haven't really done before, because you'll find a lot of new muscles get really sore in different ways than you've ever experienced.
Yeah, I had at the beginning of this quarantine, I had a lot of clients tell me that they were, you know, actually feeling really good after their home workouts and feeling like muscles that they, you know, hadn't been working regularly just because they had to change up their routine.
Yep.
And then the last thing that I would say is this is probably a prime time to potentially have a workout journal or be recording your workouts, because that makes it easier to plan for your next one if you're not if you don't already have a training program laid out for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think those are all great tips.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you guys gained some value from this one. Go crush your home workouts. If there's any topics you'd like us to cover in the future, feel free to reach out to myself at HypertroFit.com. You can find Alexa at therootedrd.com, and we'll see you guys again next week.
We'll see you guys next week.